Welcome to ESPN's SEC Big 12 Challenge, presented by Continental Tire. What a matchup we've got for you here tonight. Rupp Arena is packed and it is loud. Better than 20,000 people here to watch the Wildcats take on the Jayhawks. Kentucky looks like they have turned their season around. Started with a win in Knoxville a couple of weeks ago. They've now won 4 in a row. Kansas hoping to avoid a 4-game losing streak. They will need a win tonight to make sure that doesn't happen. You're watching Saturday Primetime, presented by John Deere. It is all a part of an ESPN Sonic blockbuster. A couple of Hall of Famers right there. John Calipari and Bill Self. Dan Schulman and Jay Bilas. Kansas and Kentucky, it always feels big here, and we got some star power on both sides.
Well, with Kentucky, it starts with Oscar Tshiebwe. He's averaging 17 points a game, 14 rebounds a game. Almost 6 of those are offensive rebounds, and he is back to full health. He has been on a tear. 37 points and 24 rebounds against Georgia. In the last 3 games, he's averaging 20 points and 18 rebounds, 22 of 35 from the field. And for Kansas, Jalen Wilson has been on a tear in the last 3 games, averaging 30 points per game. He had 23 against Baylor. He's going to be the focal point of this Kentucky defense.
Let's say hello to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, Kentucky's turned it around for a couple of reasons. One, Jacob Toppin said a players-only meeting before the Tennessee game where they were accountable to each other and vulnerable on what they weren't doing well and how they committed to change. John Calipari also said, we narrowed the focus. We're worried about winning one day at a time. He said since 2 practices before that Tennessee game, they've won every single practice. He promised his team at shoot-around this morning, I can't promise you the result, but don't look at the scoreboard. Just focus on playing and doing those little things that have made us successful.
Holly, thank you. We are ready now for the tip of our Sonic blockbuster matchup. The 2 winningest programs in the history of men's Division I college basketball, Kentucky and Kansas, ready to go at Rupp. Obi, thank you very much, my friend, and what timing you have. We'd like to welcome those of you who just watched Tennessee defeat Texas here in Lexington. Dan Schulman, Jay Bilas, Holly Rowe, and a big-time matchup here between Kentucky and Kansas. The Cats have won 4 in a row. The Jayhawks have lost 3 in a row. And, Jay, as you know, they have never lost 4 in a row under Bill Self. That goes back 20 years.
Well, Kansas coming into this game desperate and angry. And KJ Adams, undersized, is guarding Oscar Tshiebwe inside. And Jacob Toppin gets the first bucket for Kentucky, the most athletic Kentucky player on the floor.
Tonight's starting lineups are brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. A look at the starting lineup for Kansas. It has been this lineup all but 1 game this season. And they are facing quite an atmosphere and an environment right now here at Rupp Arena. The pull-up by Wilson, well short for the leading scorer in the Big 12 at better than 21 a game, as we show you the Kentucky lineup. 5th game in a row in which C.J. Frederick is in the starting lineup. And we will see both Antonio Reeves, a sharpshooter, and Sahvir Wheeler off the bench for Kentucky tonight. John Calipari, as Holly said, told his guys, just play. Don't look at the scoreboard. Take what they give you. We're in a groove now. We're playing better now. He's feeling very good about things. On the other side, for Bill Self, he's not used to 3-game losing streaks. But listen, life in the Big 12, they lose in overtime at Kansas State. They lose at Baylor. They got walloped at home by TCU, but there are no soft landing spots, Jay, in the Big 12 this year.
No, it's a league with no bottom, and you could tell Oklahoma blowing out Alabama today, and Oklahoma near the bottom of the Big 12. But Jacob Toppin, he's going to be a key in this game. He's off to a good offensive start. His last 3 games, he's averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds, shooting 55% from the field. But he's guarding Jalen Wilson. And with his size and athleticism, he can cause Wilson some problems.
Crowd wanted a walk on KJ Adams. They play on, 10 to shoot. Grady Dick has it knocked out of bounds, and it's Kentucky ball.
Grady Dick is looking to drive the ball more. He had a couple games where he struggled. He went 3 of 16 in 2 straight games against Kansas State and TCU, but he really bounced back against Baylor with 24 points.
The freshman from Wichita is having a sensational season in Lawrence, averaging 15 a game, and he's the leading three-point shooter in the Big 12 this year.
Well, he already picked up a foul switching off, and I think anytime he switches, you're going to see Kentucky take him on and try to cook him in an individual matchup. Now he's got Toppin.
Wallace, the quick double team on Shibwe. Livingston open and airballs the 3, and maybe an early indication, Jay, of how the Jayhawks plan to defend Oscar Shibwe.
No, they're going to double him and see how it goes, but McCullough doubled from the ball side and left Livingston wide open, but McCullough's such a good defender, he can recover and put pressure on that shot.
Dick misses the 3, and back comes Kentucky. The floater by Frederick. 4-0 Cats.
Frederick is so good with that floater. You have to find Antonio Reeves and C.J. Frederick in transition. They're spotting up at the three-point line, but they can shot fake and drive.
Wilson, what a good matchup with Toppin, and this battle goes to Wilson to get KU on the board.
So many different ways to score. He can take you down into the post, make a 3. Good coverage. McCullough coming over to double team, and Shibwe turns it over.
Wilson ties it up with a runner at the other end.
Anytime there's a turnover, missed shot, Kansas excellent in transition.
Boy, look at Kentucky getting down the floor. Chris Livingston lays it in.
And that was after a made basket. You know, Kentucky's a different team than it was 5 games ago.
It started with the win in Knoxville. Kentucky came in playing poorly. Tennessee had been playing great. And Kentucky won a hard-fought affair over Tennessee, and since then they have added wins over Georgia, Texas A&M, and then Tuesday night in Nashville at Vandy. McCullough contested well by Livingston.
A great job by Livingston to play the drive and then recover and be able to bother that shot.
Kansas will do a lot of switching. Wilson on Livingston now. Now they switch back.
Good shot fake.
Wallace on the drive, and he's fouled.
Boy, it's Kentucky early on in the game getting downhill against this Kansas defense. Kentucky moving the ball from side to side, making the defense move, and then attacking.
Kentucky went into Lawrence last year and beat Kansas handily, 80-62. Keon Brooks had a huge game. Oscar Shibwe had a big game. Of course, Kansas went on to win the national championship. Kentucky leads the all-time series 24-10, but Kansas has won 4 of the last 6.
But a year ago at this time, when Kentucky blew out Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, how many people thought, okay, Kansas is going to go on and win the national championship? You know, there's a long way to go in this season. So what seems like a catastrophe at this point in the season, you can recover from it.
10th time in the last 12 seasons these two great programs have met, either in this event or in the Champions Classic. A turnover. Shibwe shovels it ahead to Livingston. 9-4 Cats.
Well, give credit to Cason Wallace. That middle ball screen, trying to get downhill and draw help. Wallace disrupted it with that deflection.
Wilson has to give it up. It'll stay with Kansas when we come back. But what a good start for the hometown Wildcats here at Rupp.
Kentucky, an excellent transition team, but the deflection by Cason Wallace lets Kentucky get out on the break. The nice throw ahead by Oscar Shibwe to Livingston.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Run with us. And in part by under $2 craves from Sonic. For a limited time, only at Sonic. You're watching Saturday Primetime, presented by John Deere. All a part of an ESPN Sonic blockbuster. KU and UK. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Holly Rowe with you here in Lexington. 2 weeks ago, Kentucky looked like they were in real trouble. They were struggling, and they went into Knoxville and pulled off quite a victory, made quite a statement, beating Tennessee 63-56 at Thompson-Boling. And look how much they celebrated. They've won 3 in a row since. One of the reasons for the change, and this is not the starting lineup, but Antonio Reeves will come in and play a lot of minutes. This group of 5, Wallace at the point, a couple of shooters in Frederick and Reeves, and then Toppin and Shibwe up front. That lineup, Jay, as KJ Adams scores for Kansas, that lineup has been tremendously productive for Kentucky this season, and especially the last 4 games, and we're going to see a lot of it here tonight.
Well, when you have C.J. Frederick and Antonio Reeves on the court at the same time, you can really spread the floor because they can both shoot it. And Antonio Reeves is averaging 19 points a game over his last 2, and in the top 20 in the league in scoring.
Boy, what a nice feed from Shibwe to a cutting Toppin.
Boy, when Oscar Shibwe can pass out of the post, that makes him doubly dangerous because he draws so much attention.
You talked about Jalen Wilson. He can hurt you a variety of ways, can't he?
There in the mid-post, he's really improved his three-point shooting. Excellent in transition.
Boy,
just had a complete game.
Toppin really aggressive out of the shoot tonight, but he left that one a little bit short. You talked about it. He's been playing very well the last 3 games.
He's using his athleticism. He's such a magnificent athlete. Plays above the rim.
A 3 rattles home for DeJuan Harris, who has not been scoring much at all in recent games. Took a hard fall in the game at Kansas State a couple of weeks ago. They feel he's really rounding back into form. He passed all the concussion protocols and that sort of thing. He is fine, but if he can add a little bit of offense, that really helps the Jayhawks.
Just taking that shot was important. Against Baylor, he passed up some open ones. He was 2 of 18 over his last 4.
Nice move by Toppin, and Kentucky back on top.
And he's doing that over a really good defender in Kevin McCullough. And McCullough transferred in from Texas Tech, where he was a semifinalist for the Naismith National Defensive Player of the Year award. He's on the watch list right now.
KJ Adams not looking to drive on Shibwe. Wilson might have gotten away with a carry right there and lays it in to tie the game.
Those middle ball screens, we're going to see a lot of that tonight, because when you operate with a ball screen in the middle of the floor, you've got Oscar Shibwe playing in drop coverage, and that means that help is coming from a longer distance off of shooters on the perimeter.
Frederick looking into Shibwe. No double this time. Shibwe kicks it out. Livingston flushes it. His 3rd field goal of the night already.
If you're not going to double, you can't just turn your head. When you turn your head and look and lose track of your assignment, Chris Livingston just made a strong cut to the basket, got the easy dunk.
How about the second 3 already for DeJuan Harris Jr.?
Confidence is a funny thing, isn't it? Like he couldn't throw it in the ocean from a boat.
Around and out for Shibwe. Kansas has come back to take the lead. What a great start in the first 7 minutes of this one here at Rupp.
After that timeout, Kansas has been very assertive on the offensive end, and now a turnover.
And KJ Adams commits the foul.
You don't want to see him pick up a foul because he's so important to Kansas, but that stopped the run out for Kentucky.
And speaking of important, here comes Antonio Reeves, the senior from Chicago, the transfer from Illinois State, who has been playing great basketball in his last 6 games, averaging almost 17 points per game off the bench.
He makes about 2.5 threes per game. He's at 46 threes on the season. But just as important, he shoots 40% from three-point range. And he's very good with a shot fake and a floater, so he's more than just a catch-and-shoot guy.
And normally when he comes in, Livingston goes out, but Toppin has gone out. Boy, Wallace strong to the rim, and a chance for a 3-point play.
This freshman has game. And talk about a two-way player. You know, his value is much more than a big-time defender. Remember, he had 8 steals in that opening game against Michigan State. And he is leading this team in steals, 6th in the SEC at about 2 per game. But he can shoot it, he's strong, and he's a really smart player.
And extends the lead to 2. The foul on Zuby Ejiofor, a freshman from Garland, Texas, who has taken the place of KJ Adams at the 5 spot for Kansas. And they will need minutes from Ejiofor tonight. It'll be a team effort to try to contain Oscar Shibwe.
Kansas went to a little horn set with some roll replace action. Well defended by Livingston.
Nice offensive rebound and the kick out by Ejiofor. Joseph Yesufu with an air ball on the three.
Yesufu hesitated. That was a catch and shoot. He hesitated it and then shot it, and it didn't go particularly well.
Livingston, big minutes and big production early tonight. John Calipari said to him, hey, just be you. Just do the things you're good at. Make hustle plays, get to the glass. Livingston's been terrific in the early going for the Cats.
A ton of contact on that shot by Cason Wallace.
McCullough off the glass, too strong, and another rebound for Shibwe. Livingston in transition, jump stop and a finish. What a start he's off to.
Well, Kentucky is getting out in transition. Whether it's a turnover or a missed shot, even after a make, they are getting the ball down court quickly and putting a ton of pressure on Kansas's transition defense. Got a switch here now. We got Shibwe on Harris.
McCullough seeking out the contact and a chance for three.
Just that switch made it a little bit easier for Kansas to turn the corner. But Kentucky in transition. The Wildcats are playing ahead of the Kansas defense and getting advantage situations by throwing ahead. Livingston not charging, getting the contact and going through it to finish. And Kevin McCullough gets hit and puts it in for a potential three-point play.
When we say tonight is a meeting of the blue bloods, we mean the bluest of bloods, not just the school colors, but the history and the origin of basketball. It all started with Dr. James Naismith, as you know, the father of basketball, but he has a great connection with Phog Allen, who later became the coach at Kansas basketball. But then look who was on that team with Phog Allen coaching and James Naismith. Of course, Adolph Rupp, the great Adolph Rupp, that is the building that we're playing in tonight. All things lead back to that team in Moritz, Kansas, and it is a beautiful blue blood rivalry that we're seeing here tonight. A lot of ties to the history of basketball.
Ollie, thank you. And a great point. Numbers 1 and 2 in the Division I all-time wins list as we take a look at tonight's Sonic Blockbuster. Kansas 6 wins ahead of Kentucky. They've combined to win 12 championships, go to 33 Final Fours. This matchup, Jay, arguably more than any other college basketball matchup, takes you right back to the roots of the sport if you want to go back that far.
Well, every road in this game leads back to Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah.
You know, Kansas and Allen Fieldhouse is the St. Andrews of college basketball. Dean Smith played at Kansas. You know, Adolph Rupp played at Kansas. Phog Allen. It's ridiculous, the history in Lawrence, Kansas.
One of my favorite college basketball stats. This is the 125th year of Kansas basketball. They've had 8 head coaches. 8. They've obviously chosen very well.
Chosen wisely.
Yes.
Little 2-3 set to start to lift up this Kansas defense, then attack it.
Xavier Wheeler now in off the bench for Kentucky. Bobby Pettiford is in for Kansas out there in the backcourt along with Yesufu. Toppin returns.
A little surprised that Toppin didn't shoot that in the middle of the lane over Bobby Pettiford. He's got him by a foot.
Shot clock at 1. And Kentucky will turn it over. Pettiford racing down the court, and yeah, he kind of got that ball caught on his hip and gets called for a travel.
Yeah, he just bobbled it, but Kansas has to keep Kentucky out of the lane. Like so far in this game, Kentucky has 18 points in the paint, 8 of those in transition. But they are turning the corner, getting into the lane, drawing help, and getting just about anything they want. I mean, Kentucky's shooting close to 70% in this early game.
Wheeler in now at the point, coming off the bench these days. Again, after he missed the Tennessee game with a shoulder injury, they changed the starting lineup. They won the game. They've stayed with that starting lineup. So a guy who has led the SEC in assists per game twice, once with Georgia, once with Kentucky, now coming off the bench. But he was really good Tuesday night at Vandy. 23 very important minutes for the Cats.
He's just got tremendous speed with the ball in his hands. And he's able to lead the SEC in assists. Pretty low turnover rate as well. Kansas just went to a little low cross screen for Jalen Wilson where he's able to curl it to get into the lane. Just lost the ball. But you're going to see Kansas continue to try to put the ball into Jalen Wilson's hands, especially if they can get him into the middle of the floor.
Cason Wallace wasn't on the bench for long. He's back. KJ Adams, DeJuan Harris Jr. have returned for Kansas. Wilson off to a good start with 8. Finds Adams at the elbow and he knocks it down over Shibwe.
Well, there's an example of Kansas taking what the defense gives them. If Shibwe is going to play that far off KJ Adams, he's going to try to take advantage of it.
At the other end, Shibwe muscling it up and in.
And that could have been an and one because KJ Adams had his arms down when Shibwe went right through him. Just because he's strong doesn't mean he can't get fouled. He got fouled there and still made it.
Adams already has a foul. They want to keep him on the floor as much as they can, even though he's an undersized 5. But he can do that. The short roll to the bucket, and he's got a chance for 3.
That's that middle ball screen, Dan, and the drop coverage. He just rolled right to the basket, and because he got shooters spread wide. Now watch, the middle of the floor is going to be wide open. In the drop coverage, just a little pocket pass, and you saw Xavier Wheeler come over, but he's awfully small to go against KJ Adams in there. And if he comes right to take a charge, you can just stop on that roll and then kick it to a shooter in the left corner.
What a season Adams is having. A year ago as a freshman, 5 minutes per game, 1 point per game. This year he has become an indispensable player and a very unique 5-man, if you will, for Kansas. He can hurt you a number of different ways.
Antonio Reeves had Oscar Shibwe in a high low, just didn't look.
Turnaround by Toppin.
And what a good block out by KJ Adams on Oscar Shibwe,
who just got called for his first foul.
Oscar's probably thinking, wait a minute, nobody can block me out. What, are you kidding? That was a really good box out by KJ Adams. And I'm not sure there was much there. Holly?
Well, I talked to KJ Adams about having to use his strength in his lower body today in this matchup against Shibwe. He said, I'm strong, and if I get into my stance, I can box people out with my strength in my lower body. He's added 10 pounds of muscle this year, but he's actually increased his vertebral by 2 inches. KJ Adams was ready for what he'd have to do tonight.
6'7", 225. Shibwe 6'9", 260, but Adams is a very strong guy, and he's battling Shibwe tooth and nail. Kept alive by Shibwe, and another Kentucky foul. Is it? No, this time it's Toppin who gets called for the foul, his first.
Rebounding for Kansas is not going to be 1 or 2 guys. It's got to be a 5-man proposition. It's got to be gang rebounding on the defensive end. Don't worry about the break till you secure the ball. You know, guards can't leak out early against Kentucky. Kentucky is an outstanding offensive rebounding team. On the season, they're getting about 39% of their misses, and it's even better in SEC play.
Crowd is booing, but a clear foul on top and reaching in. Kansas with the ball in a 2-point lead. Here at Rupp. Loose ball off the foot of Grady Dick, out of bounds, back to UK.
Well, coaches are going to love this. Cason Wallace dove for the ball. Grady Dick went after it and tried to pick it up, and it wound up going off him. First to the floor.
Boy, and nothing offensively so far from Grady Dick. He is 0 for 1. Has not scored in this game. This is a guy shooting 43% from 3 and averaging 15 a game. Double team on Toppin. Into Shibwe.
Yeah, got Adams.
And it's number 2 on KJ Adams with 7:58 to go in the first half. An important guy picks up his second for Kansas. Welcome back to ESPN's SEC Big 12 Challenge presented by Continental Tire. It's been a fascinating day between these two conferences. Mississippi State beating TCU in overtime. One of 4 losses by a ranked team to an unranked team in the challenge today. It all got started earlier this afternoon. West Virginia beating Auburn. Auburn made a furious comeback, got close, but the Mountaineers win it. And how about what Oklahoma did to Alabama? They led by as many as 30 and beat the number 2 team in the nation by 24 today. Grant Sherfield had 30 points for the Sooners this afternoon.
Sherfield was outstanding. I mean, he looked like an NBA guard in that game. And then for Mississippi State, Tolu Smith had 27 points and 13 rebounds in that overtime win over TCU.
This is the last SEC Big 12 challenge. Starting next year, the SEC and the ACC will have a challenge. Let's visit again with Holly.
Guys, John Calipari just told his team in the huddle that they have got to pick up their pace. They were so good in transition early in this half, and they've got to get back to that. And his second point, Oscar Tshiebwe's got to post lower. He said he's posting too high up. Got to get better position and stop getting blocked out. He challenged Oscar.
Holly, thank you. Meanwhile, as expected, KJ Adams to the bench with his second foul. So, Jay, some big minutes here for the freshman, Zuby Ejiofor. And he will lay it in to make it a 4-point game.
And that's Zuby Ejiofor's first basket since December. Hadn't scored a field goal since December. But that middle screen and roll. And to Holly's point, you know, when Kentucky's playing in the half court, they've not been as efficient. But when they're getting out in transition after a make or a miss, they've gotten anything they want.
Ejiofor can't handle Tshiebwe, who's got a chance for three.
I think that high-low we talked about a little bit earlier, that they'd ignored Oscar Tshiebwe. Just a little cross screen, and he took advantage of Ejiofor and got an angle on him, and there's no way you're going to stop him when he gets the ball that deep. But that middle ball screen and roll, if Tshiebwe goes on to the ball handler, somebody's got to be there to pick up the roll man. If you come off of a shooter, you're going to give up an open three.
And at Kansas shoot-around today, the focal point was emphatically that middle of the floor ball screen to make Tshiebwe move around, maybe get him in foul trouble, force him to make decisions out on the perimeter.
Well, traditionally, Kansas likes to get action in the middle third of the floor after moving it from side to side because it's so difficult to get help.
Tshiebwe goes to the bench for the first time in the game. Lance Ware is in. And in the middle, and for Kansas, our first look at Ernest Udeh Jr., a freshman from Orlando, number 23 in blue. Harris turns the corner, up top for Udeh.
That time they took it to a side screen and roll with an open corner. And a terrific hard roll to the basket by Udeh.
Frederick into Toppin. What a beautiful adjustment Frederick made midstream right there.
Boy, it doesn't take long for Jacob Toppin to get from the floor to the rim. He just exploded to the rim.
Wilson with a nice crossover, and he's bumped on his way to the goal.
That slot drive is where he's most effective. And the slot is just on the lane, between the lane lines, and you get him onto one lane line. But let that open corner pick and roll is so difficult to defend. And just a little handoff, and you get two defenders to the ball. And all of a sudden, Jacob Toppin is dunking it.
But the concern now for Kentucky is that was Toppin's second foul, and you can see Livingston's coming back in. So Kentucky will go with a smaller lineup right now as Toppin will sit with 6.5 to go. So no Tshiebwe, no Toppin. Ejiofor trying to walk something off down the tunnel. And what a year Wilson is having. Bill Self talking about how far he's come in terms of his maturity and the way he carries himself, and he's having a first-team All-American kind of season, Jed.
Well, I think after Zach Edey of Purdue, who's the front runner for National Player of the Year, the first name you would mention is Jalen Wilson.
Frederick a miss. A guy who is always a threat from beyond the arc. He's also defending Grady Dick. As that shot is missed. And again, Kansas not getting any offense right now from Grady Dick, a 15-point-a-game guy, and still leading this game.
Really, his defense is what he needs to concentrate on right now because he's guarding C.J. Frederick. You cannot lose him.
Reeves brings Kentucky back within one.
And Reeves thought he got fouled. John Calipari agrees. Now the ball screen way up high. Try to extend this Kentucky defense and put him in space.
Wilson misses from the elbow. Kentucky can reclaim the lead.
That pass ahead is so effective in transition.
Boy, Livingston playing with confidence tonight, but Grady Dick knocks it away, and now Kansas in transition. Wilson blocked, but Dick follows up to make it a 3-point game.
But Grady Dick doing a terrific job getting down court and getting into the play.
Well, you love the pace, don't you?
I thought Wilson was going to drop that thing off to DeJuan Harris. And that's where Lance Ware, that's where he's going to score, is screen and a hard roll. I thought this little pass to the left was going to be the play, and Cason Wallace just makes a great recovery to wipe that away. But because Grady Dick didn't quit on the play, he gets the stick back.
Lance Ware, the junior from Camden, New Jersey, at the line now for the Cats. Big Monday doubleheader coming your way. Virginia is at Syracuse at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then Baylor and Texas at 9 o'clock Eastern. Great doubleheader Monday night on ESPN and also streaming live on the app.
Is there a game played in the Big 12 that doesn't have numbers by the names? Everybody's ranked. I mean, every team in the league in the Big 12 is ranked in the top 75 of the net.
The top 6 are all within a game. Texas, Iowa State, Kansas State, KU, TCU, and Baylor. They're all in the top 18 of the net, all in the top 17 of the AP poll. And then look at the wins that teams like West Virginia and Oklahoma got today. I mean, 6 are locks to get high seeds, but the Big 12 might get a 7th or an 8th into the tournament somehow.
Right now, they'd get 8. I mean, obviously, there's a long way to go.
Just huge wins for the Mountaineers and the Sooners today over ranked teams.
Ooh, boy, that was deep. That was out of Calipari's coaching box.
5-point lead Kansas after Kentucky got off to a quick start tonight. Again, Kansas comes in having lost 3 in a row under Bill Self. 20 years, they've never had a 4-game losing streak.
C.J. Frederick getting that shot blocked, but that was all on one side of the floor off of one pass. You know, Kentucky had really good success when they moved the ball from side to side and got better player movement.
Wallace out of bounds, so it'll be Kansas ball. But we come back, the Jayhawks up by 5 late in the first half. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Continental Tire, the smart choice in tires. Busy day for the Game Day gang. They started off in Knoxville, previewing Texas, Tennessee, and other games from Thompson Bowling. Then took the State Farm bus here to Lexington, pulled it a few hours ago, and looking dapper as always as they...
Well, the guys are everywhere, and they know everything. So let's start with you, Fonz. Tell me what Kansas has to do to continue this stretch.
Yeah, Kentucky earlier was using the advanced pass to get one-on-one opportunities in transition, 8 points in transition. Since then, Kansas has done a great job of getting back and making them play over a set defense. That's going to be important going forward.
All right, Coach, what does Kentucky have to do to get back in it?
They've got to get back to reversing the ball, moving people, and then attacking, and then they got to clean up their ball screen defense. Right now, Kansas is doing a really good job of attacking that middle slot ball screen. All
right, that's all coming up on the Jeep Halftime Report.
Holly, thank you. Reese Davis will be with the guys 3 minutes and 48 seconds from now. Kansas by 5 here at Rupp Arena late in the first half. Harris leans in off the glass and good. A tough bucket.
Right in the middle of the floor, just curling off of Uday and getting all the way to the rim. And Kansas has done a really good job on the glass. The Jayhawks have not allowed an offensive rebound in this game for Kentucky. 0 offensive rebounds for the Wildcats, and that is a strength of Kentucky.
They're 3rd in the nation in offensive rebounding percentage, and Shibwe's #1 individually as Uday and Shibwe wrestle for the ball long after the whistle had blown.
Yeah, they got Kevin McCullough coming in. He got Shibwe's arm. And neither Uday or Shibwe would let go of the ball after the whistle was blown. There's nothing in the rule book that says I have to let go. Neither one of them would.
And Shibwe to the line for the Cats. did not have a good game about 3 weeks back at Alabama, and John Calipari talked about it post-game and on his radio show and said, hey, we need more from the reigning player of the year. In his last 5 games, Jay, 18.6 points per game, 15.8 rebounds per game over a 5-game stretch, but he just missed the front end of a 1-1.
You have to go back a long way to remember a rebounder like Oscar Tshiebwe. Just incredible in his ability to get second shots, averages about 6 offensive rebounds a game. And what a recovery by Udeh to knock that away. That was a sure basket for Oscar Tshiebwe. The only players in the country to average these kind of numbers. And Zach Edey's 7-4. But Oscar Tshiebwe, just after a Player of the Year season, putting up Player of the Year numbers again.
Wallace and Wheeler out there together in the backcourt, and now a foul on Udeh.
And the activity of Tshiebwe is what's so impressive down in the post. I mean, he's posting hard, and he's forcing Udeh to play him. He's not just standing there. I mean, he's looking to get the ball.
Remember, right now, KJ Adams, the starter with the 5, has 2 fouls. The last we saw of Zuby Ejiofor, he was walking towards the locker room, obviously some sort of a physical issue. So Udeh is actually the 3rd option, and there's Ejiofor and limping. So Udeh's actually the 3rd option for Bill Self to defend a guy like Tshiebwe. It's a lot to ask of Udeh as a freshman who's given up some strength in this matchup.
But he's long, athletic, and he can run. He can change ends. He's shown he's a lob threat because he rolls so hard to the basket and then ripping that rebound away. But with a 6-point lead, Bill Self can afford to make that decision.
The foul on Cason Wallace. That'll be the 6th team foul on Kentucky. And really anything that Kansas gets from the bench is kind of a bonus. Their top 5 have scored 84% of their points this year, 88% in conference play. So getting contributions from the likes of Udeh and others, a real bonus for the Jayhawks.
And even though Udeh has not played that much to start this season, keeps it alive there. What a play.
And that's going to go.
That was a great play by Ernest Udeh. He kept that ball alive. He couldn't get it, but was able to knock it to McCullough. And this could be a 3-point play. Cason Wallace thought he had the ball, but Udeh knocked it away, kept it alive, and gave a teammate an opportunity. Great shot fake and terrific finish by Kevin McCullough. But sometimes, Dan, when Udeh knows that Bill Self can't take him out. And there's some freedom that goes with that. And it may be a little bit comforting for him to know that, hey, they need me. And it's good to be, sometimes players need to be needed.
5 minutes, 2 points, 2 rebounds, a bunch of hustle plays. He's done a great job. Plus, that was the 2nd foul on Oscar Tshiebwe. He's going to sit for the last 2:31 of the first half. Cason Wallace is on the bench. Jacob Toppin is on the bench with a couple of fouls. So Kansas has a 9-point lead, and some key Wildcats are on the bench right now.
And I can give you some key basketball analysis here. The easiest place to defend Oscar Tshiebwe is when he's sitting next to Calipari.
Yep. Reeves, a little space, and he doesn't need much, does he?
Boy, known as a 3-point shooter, but he's got a mid-range game. His floater is really good, and his shot fake is excellent.
That bucket rallying the spirits of the 20,000 Cat fans here a little bit. M.J. Rice, the freshman from Henderson, North Carolina, hasn't played a ton this year, misses that long jumper. Reeves, air ball for a guy shooting 40% from 3 on the season.
That was a deep one. But Kentucky had been having their way with Kansas getting into the lane the first 6-7 minutes of the game. I mean, early on they had 18. It was like 18-8 in paint points, and that's changed. Kansas has tightened up its defense, and Kentucky has made some shot decisions that maybe haven't been ideal.
Harris up top. Udeh again. They connect for the 2nd time tonight.
The ball screen was run higher, and when it was run higher, that created even more space. You're not worried about a perimeter shot there, but Harris able to get downhill, draw help, and then just lob it right up to the basket on that hard roll. That's just really good pick and roll offense.
Bill Self's got to be so happy with the effort he's gotten from his team. And Uday, a big part of that off the bench. Reeves defended well by Rice. Gives it up to Livingston. 3 on the clock. And they don't get a shot off.
Kansas is moving their feet, staying in front, and containing the ball. That's keeping them out of help rotation. And this has been an impressive answer. Kentucky got off to a great start. And they threw a couple haymakers early at Kansas in their home building. And Kansas has been resilient and answered it.
Kentucky led 9-4 very early in this game, so quite a turnaround here for the Jayhawks. Grady Dick back into the game as MJ Rice sits. Final minute, Kansas ball. Wilson still going. Into the paint. Left it short. Wallace the rebound.
Boy, great defense by Cason Wallace. Just stayed low, used his leverage, and made Wilson take a really difficult shot because of his defense.
Timeout, John Calipari.
All right, take a look at Kansas setting this high ball screen in the middle third of the floor. Here's the screen going to come here. And look at all this open space behind. Because of the movement, you got shooters here, and you're going to have a wide open middle. When Lance Ware comes over to play the ball, you just throw it up to Uday on that hard roll, and you have an easy basket because of that open middle. Running things in the middle third of the floor in that slot area has been really good for Kansas.
So how does Kentucky try to defend that better? After that bucket, you could see Lance Ware turning to the bench and pleading his case with the coaching staff a little bit.
Well, you can't play drop coverage in that. You know, you have to get over the screen and stay in front of the ball. He can have contact with the offensive player that's setting the screen with Uday and help out just to slow the ball handler from turning the corner. But then you got to get back because there's nobody there to tag that roll and get in the way.
Wheeler with a burst of speed lays it in. Kentucky within 7. Kansas can hold for the last shot of the half. Bill Self telling DeJuan Harris, no timeout, you go. High off the glass, Ware down with the rebound, and the first half will come to a close here at Rupp with visiting Kansas, hoping to avoid a 4-game losing streak with a 7-point lead on Kentucky, getting contributions up and down their roster. Got some good stuff off the bench. Bill Self's got to be happy. He's with Holly Rowe.
Well, Coach, Kentucky got out to a quick start. What was the key to your team responding so well?
I think we kept them out of the paint. I think they scored like 20 of their first 22 in the paint. I think we did a better job keeping them out of the paint.
The middle ball screen has paid off for you. How are you guys maximizing that?
Well, that was, we just want to put them in as many ball screens as possible, and I don't know if it'll keep working, but it's worked pretty good so far.
And lastly, Oscar Tshiebwe, 6 points. How has that plan worked, and how do you continue in the second half?
He's really played better than that because he's got like 3 assists when we tried to post trap and was ineffective. So we got to tighten that up.
Thank you, Coach.
Kansas 41, Kentucky 34 at the half. A fun 20 minutes here in Lexington. After the break, Reese Davis and the guys with the Jeep halftime report. Welcome back to ESPN's SEC Big 12 Challenge presented by Continental Tire. Jalen Wilson, 10 points, 6 rebounds in the first half for the Jayhawks. Scoring in a variety of different ways. Kansas shooting 49% in the first half. Kentucky actually shot 55%. But didn't have nearly as many attempts. Oscar Tshiebwe in 14 minutes of action, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 for 3 from the floor. Went to the bench late in the first half with 2 fouls. You're watching Saturday Primetime, presented by John Deere. All a part of an ESPN Sonic blockbuster. When you have a blockbuster, you need Red Panda for the halftime show. We got it all here at Rupp Arena tonight as these Blue Bloods battle Kansas and Kentucky. Welcome back, Dan Schulman, Jay Billis. What did you like about Kansas offensively in the first half?
Well, first of all, Kansas did a great job in their transition defense in the second part of the first half, but the way they ran their ball screen action, whether it was on the side or in the middle of the floor, they really put that drop coverage at a test, and both times it was Lance Ware. He's in drop coverage. That means he's not connected to Uday setting the screen. When he goes to try to guard the ball to keep Harris from turning the corner, Uday's wide open for the lob. Same thing here. Drop coverage, stays with the ball too long, doesn't stay in contact with Uday, gives it up. But one of the most impressive things in the first half for Kansas, Kentucky did not get a single offensive rebound. Yep. This is a great offensive rebounding team. Not a single second shot opportunity for Kentucky.
Ready for the second half of our Sonic blockbuster. Kentucky also did not make a three in the first half, over 6. Now, Kansas was only 2 for 7, but still. And another thing, Kentucky 4 for 11 from the free throw line. Holly Rowe spoke with John Calipari.
Well, I asked Coach Cal about that ball screen defense that you're referencing, Jay, and he said sometimes we've got to do emergency switches, better communication there on what we're doing and whether or not we should go under or not. He also said we're helping too much on guys that are not shooting well. I want our defense to be more aware of that and communicate. And then a big piece of news coming out for Kansas, Zuby will not be able to return to this game. He was a big plan for their defense against Oscar Tshiebwe. He's out for the game with a rolled ankle.
All right, Holly, thank you. So no Zuby Ejiofor in the second half. That means we will likely see more of Ernest Uday Jr. and the freshman from Orlando, Jay, gave Bill Self some very good minutes in the first 20 minutes.
He really did a terrific job. Defensively, kept balls alive on the offensive end, and he was great in screen and roll.
Quick double there by McCullough. Tshiebwe still got it. But eventually it'll be tied up and turned over to Kansas.
KJ Adams almost got a steal sitting on his backside.
I would think it's been a bit of a frustrating night so far for Tshiebwe. He's been swarmed almost every time he's touched the ball, missed some action after picking up his second foul.
Well, it's who's going after him. It's been Kevin McCullough. And McCullough can help on that double and then still recover effectively. He's such a good defender, but Tshiebwe's used to drawing a crowd.
Good cut by McCullough and a chance for three.
Well, he looked like he rolled his ankle there when he came down, but that little 45-degree cut on that Nash dribble. You know, remember Steve Nash used to drive baseline and keep it and go to the other side. And it's so hard to stop that cut. Oh, not quite 45 degrees, almost from the corner. But you cut off that drive, everybody looking at the ball handler, and you can't take that away, but just rolled that ankle on Chris Livingston.
And he is favoring it. He is feeling it, but he's going to stay in to shoot the free throw. Livingston just went to the bench. Antonio Reeves in early in the second half for Kentucky.
Antonio Reeves needs to hunt shots in this second half because he can stretch the floor.
And they're going to take McCullough out of the game. And he is not moving very well at all right now. This is a loss. This is one of the best perimeter defensive players in the nation.
Yeah, that's a huge problem for Kansas if he's unable to come back into this game. Bobby Pettiford comes in. He is much smaller. And now all of a sudden, you got a much smaller team out there for Kansas.
Harris now on Reeves. Reeves goes to work on him right away. Misses the runner. Offensive rebound, Tshiebwe.
First of the game for Kentucky.
Toppin misses one in the lane, and back comes Kansas with a 9-point lead.
Now the ball's starting to move for Kansas. They're getting from side to side and then can attack downhill.
Tshiebwe with a rejection on Wilson.
And this is not one of John Calipari's best shot blocking teams, but Oscar Tshiebwe 12th in the league with over 1 block per game.
So you see Ejiofor in a boot, and you see McCullough walking by him on his way to the locker room. So 2 injuries right now for the Jayhawks.
Well, the McCullough injury, you're taking out now Kevin McCullough, who leads the Big 12 in steals. He is 4th in rebounds. and one of the best and most versatile perimeter defenders in the country. That's a huge loss for Kansas. Kentucky needs to take advantage of it.
The floater for Harris not there, and Reeves down with a rebound.
And that's a shot that Kentucky wouldn't mind seeing DeJuan Harris take. He can make it.
Wallace, another assist for Sheboy, his 4th of the night.
And that was Bobby Pettiford going in for the double. Then he recovers small out to Wallace. If that were McCullough, you're coming out with 6'7" and long arms recovering to Cason Wallace to try to bother that shot.
First made 3 of the game for the Cats. And a bucket at the other end for KJ Adams.
And those were shots that he was not finishing the last 2 games. The last 2 games coming into this one, KJ Adams was averaging 4 points and 4 rebounds. He was 2 of 11 from the field after 11 straight double-figure games. There's the high-low. Boy, Sheboy needed to touch it there.
Reeves draws a foul.
Now take a look when the ball goes inside to Oscar Sheboy. It's Pettiford at what, 6 feet tall that goes into double. Just makes a reach. Now he's got to recover out to Wallace, and he's recovering small. And KJ Adams on the other side of the floor sets the screen, catches it on the short roll, and powers up right through Oscar Sheboy. That's a big time finish by KJ Adams.
Again, a guy who has just really come into his own in his sophomore season. As a kid, played soccer, then switched to lacrosse. Kind of late getting to basketball, but now as a sophomore, boy, is he having a fine year for the Jayhawks. You know, Jake, 2 names we haven't said much at all, Grady Dick and C.J. Frederick, and that's because each of them is doing such a great job covering the other guy. They're both really talented players, but they're shutting each other down right now.
The backdoor look. Good pass. Boy, the backdoor look and then into a side pick and roll. That is difficult to guard, and a beautiful pocket pass by Grady Dick to KJ Adams. And Adams has such great agility.
Yeah, Grady Dick has the reputation of being a great shooter, and he is, but he can help you in a lot of different ways. Good rebounder, terrific passer as well. Sheboy knocks one in.
And Kentucky deciding to put KJ Adams into a ball screen where Oscar Sheboy can roll down into the post.
Harris into Adams. And just too difficult to find the range over Sheboy.
Sheboy's wide open.
And scores again.
That deep post position, you are not going to stop Oscar Sheboy. High-low is going to be really effective if Kentucky will continue it. Because KJ Adams, he can't get around in front of him. He gets so wide and low. And a beautiful pass by C.J. Frederick, who is an excellent post feeder. He was that at Iowa. He is that at Kentucky. And Oscar Sheboy starting to assert himself for Kentucky.
The main attraction, you don't want to miss. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Continental Tire, the smart choice in tires. And in part by the Sonic Steak and Bacon Grilled Cheese for a limited time only at Sonic. Intense game, couple of Hall of Fame coaches. Iconic programs. Kansas leading by 4 right now. Kevin McCullough Jr. trying to work out that right foot or ankle situation, and moments ago emerged from the tunnel and given Coach Self the thumbs up. Good news for Kansas.
Well, he was limping when he did it. Maybe it just means his thumb works.
Well, that might be enough to get him back into the game. Again, an outstanding perimeter defender and a guy. I mean, he can score every now and again too. Not just a defensive player. Averages double figures. Had a great game Monday in the loss at Baylor.
And I think Kentucky on the offensive end needs to go high-low looking into Sheboy as often as possible, especially with C.J. Frederick making that high-low pass because he is such a good post feeder.
Sheboy comes up with a steal.
Well, he's got great hands. Oscar Sheboy averages almost 2 steals per game.
Wallace at the point. Still plenty of time. Shibwe turns it over. Stolen away by Grady Dick, and back comes Kansas. Wilson left alone. Boy, they backed off the guy with the ball, who's a 21-point-a-game guy, and he knocked it down.
Even if it's not your assignment, you never leave the ball, especially when it's in the hands of a guy averaging 21 points a game, who's averaging 30 over his last 3.
Shibwe lays it in, the assist to Wallace.
Just a miscommunication. 2 wound up on the ball, and Oscar Shibwe wide open on that middle roll.
Shibwe's got the last 6 for Kentucky. Wilson for 3.
And Shibwe really ran the court, and now he's got Jalen Wilson on him. They need to go right into Shibwe.
Reeves misses the 3, and Dick the rebound for Kansas.
Right, when you've got Oscar Shibwe in the post, let him touch the ball. He's shown he'll pass it out.
Pettiford bounces to Adams, who knocks it down.
I'm not sure whether that pass was for Adams or a cutting Grady Dick, but it worked out really well.
Adams now 6 for 7 and a game-high 13 points in this game. And a timeout on the floor. Kansas leading by 6, Jay.
Well, anytime you leave the ball, it's a bad idea defensively. It's especially bad when you leave Jalen Wilson. And Jalen Wilson knocks down the jumper. He's got 12 points and 7 rebounds in this game. And Oscar Shibwe setting the high ball screen. 2 stayed on the ball. The tag was late, and Shibwe scores.
Come on and watch.
Hey, tomorrow at 3 Eastern on ESPN, women's college action. Olivia Miles averaging 15, 7, and 7. Leads number 7 Notre Dame as they take on number 20 NC State. Diamond Johnson and company down in Raleigh. And then a big Monday doubleheader. Number 7 Virginia beat BC today, taking on Syracuse. And then Baylor in Texas in the second game at 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and the app. At the timeout that we just had, former Cats guard Rajon Rondo is here. Got a huge ovation, predictably, here at Rupp. Where they've had some players. They've had some guards, haven't they?
Just an amazing history. And Kevin McCullough back into the ball game for Kansas. He's guarding Antonio Reeves. Reeves has not been able to free himself up from a three-point line, and not a very good pass by C.J. Frederick. Usually reliable passing to the post. But you got to not just pass to the offense, you pass away from the defense. And Ude able to get the steal.
This time they can't convert at the other end on the alley-oop attempt.
Disrupted by Cason Wallace. Boy, it's remarkable. Only 1 offensive rebound in this game for Kentucky. And remember, Kentucky gets about 40% of their misses on the season. 1 offensive rebound.
Shibwe's jumper won't go down, and the rebound to Grady Dick.
And DeJuan Harris has had a good floor game. He's been in control of what he's doing in this game.
8 points, 5 assists for Harris.
Got the only 2 made threes for Kansas.
McCullough leaves the jumper short. Good play by Harris, deflecting the pass. And Dick misses the layup, and it's off the back of the backboard and back to Kentucky.
Boy, what an opportunity for Kansas. Missed. I thought Grady Dick was going to pull up for that 3. I think Shibwe's got to touch it here. Let him go against Ude. Looks like they're going to try to set some middle ball screen. Let him roll to the basket. And there's the roll replacing the high-low.
Good deep position, and fouled by Ude.
There's just no reason not to go to that over and over again. You know, ultimately with a ball screen, let him roll to the basket, play 4-round-1, and make Ude guard him one-on-one in the post. I mean, that's going to go well for Kentucky. They're going to either score or get fouled.
Second on Uday. Adams on the bench right now, but it's not foul trouble. He's just got 2. He's just getting a bit of a breather.
Oscar Tshiebwe is just a man-child in basketball. His ability to post up, rebounding, you name it, and maybe the nicest guy you've ever met off the floor. Just a gentle soul that you always feel better after you talk to Oscar Tshiebwe. You might want to take a lesson in that.
Wait a minute, I'm Canadian. Doesn't that make me nice by default?
You're only nice because you have universal health care.
Last 8 Kentucky points belong to Tshiebwe. Kansas's lead is down to 4. Uday hands it back to Harris. Shot clock at 5. Wilson with a long 2. Kentucky ball. John Calipari calling out a play. Cason Wallace, the quarterback.
Go back to the same thing.
Good ball movement and a wide open 3 for Wallace.
That hard roll to the basket just drew defenders, and they could kick it out. One pass, wide open step in 3. Beautiful offense by Kentucky.
A 3 at the other end. What an answer by Jalen Wilson.
Not surprising the answer came from Wilson. He has been the answer all year for Kansas. Boy, and on the road, how big is a shot like that to quiet the crowd? And here we're going back to high-low.
Knocked away. Kansas with numbers. And Dick lays it in. It's a 6-point lead all of a sudden for the Jayhawks.
And without Kevin McCullough in the game, that pass is not stolen. That's a basket for Kentucky. That was just a great play by McCullough to jump in front, take that away, and it led to a wide open bucket for Kansas.
So Jalen Wilson with a big answer a couple of possessions ago after the 3 by Cason Wallace. The All-America candidate Wilson with a step-back 3 to make it a 4-point lead. And then the turnover and the transition bucket, KU by 6. Back here at Rupp Arena, Dan Shulman, Jay Billis, and Holly Rowe. A really good game. Number 9 Kansas in a back-and-forth game, leading Kentucky now by 6 with 11:03 to go in the second half. And while we have a moment, we want to extend our condolences to Fred Quartelbaum. He is in his 10th year as the director of basketball operations with the Kansas program, and Fred lost his father, Fred Sr., to cancer on Monday. There you see a recent photo with Fred and his wife Christy and Fred Sr. Fred Sr. had been living for many years in Arizona, but over the last year or so moved to Lawrence to be closer to family, to allow Fred and family to care for their father. And as you well know, Jay, Fred Quartelbaum is one of the most uplifting, positive, wonderful people you will ever meet. And his dad had said to him near the end, hey, no matter what or when this happens, I want you to stay with the team. And Fred passed on Monday. Fred Jr. was with the team in their game on Monday night at Baylor, and just want to send our thoughts to Fred and the entire Quartelbaum family.
Well, I was there at that game at Baylor and had the chance to talk to Fred, and he talked about how grateful he and his family were to have the opportunity in the last year to be caregivers to his father. And I saw Christy in the elevator right before the game, and she was working an iPad. The Quartelbaum kids each have games today, so she was watching games in the elevator on the way to this one. This is a big basketball day in the Quartelbaum family.
Nearing the midway point of the second half in what has been a really entertaining game, not surprisingly, here in Lexington. Harris's runner won't go down, and Toppin wraps up the rebound.
Little side pick and roll below the free throw line on an empty side, and that gives Harris the chance to turn the corner.
Toppin cut off, finds Wallace.
Tshiebwe's wide open. I mean, he's got to get the ball.
Instead, the cross-court pass deflected and stolen by Wilson.
They missed Oscar Tshiebwe twice. I mean, he just fanned out there. I mean, he could have taken an ad out in the paper. He was so wide open.
Harris left alone and misses the three.
I think Kentucky needs to make a concerted effort starting now to get the ball inside to Oscar Tshiebwe. I mean, he has been wide open.
Changes in the backcourt now. Wheeler and Reeves into the game for Kentucky as Wallace and Frederick sit. Reeves was looking into the post, but Tshiebwe wasn't looking at him. He was setting a screen to try to free up Wallace. Reeves with a runner. As you said, he's not just a catch and shoot guy.
He is really good with that little floater. Kansas has not allowed Reeves to get open for a three, but he's shown he has game beyond that.
So my mistake. Wallace obviously did not go to the bench. He's still out there along with Reeves and Wheeler. And Kentucky's got a little spark here in the last 30 seconds or so. Number 3 on Adams. So Wheeler at the point, Wallace playing off the ball at the moment.
Looks like Bill Self going to come back with Uday and try to buy a little bit of time. Great pass.
Toppin has to kick it back out. Wheeler up too strong, and the rebound for Wilson.
And Kansas continues on the defensive glass.
Adams into the chest of Tshiebwe, and it goes.
Boy, what a play by KJ Adams.
What a game he's having. 7 for 8, 15 points.
Yeah, that's his 12th double-figure scoring game, and those 12 have come in the last 14 games.
Wallace the drive over McCullough, and he's fouled.
That was a smart play. He's got McCullough on that gimpy ankle. Just a little shot fake and drive. An intelligent decision by Cason Wallace.
And watching McCullough in the last couple of moments as he made his way to the free throw lane, he is still limping. He is feeling it.
Yeah, he's clearly compromised, but you'd rather have him at less than 100%. Because you're getting 0% when he's on the bench. He's so valuable. He still made plays. Made that steal since he came back when Kentucky was trying to get it into Tshiebwe.
Adams out, Uday in.
And with a less experienced big guy, that's even more incentive for Kentucky to look inside to Oscar and let him go to work.
Much better job at the line in the second half for Kentucky. 4 for 11 in the first half, 6 for 6 in the second half.
Toppin guarding Wilson. He's got length and athleticism.
Corner 3 off the top of the backboard from Grady Dick, and it's Kentucky ball.
Well defended again.
Look at this speed.
Right now for Kansas, it's about containing the ball.
Wallace again driving. McCullough knocks it away, but a foul's called on Kevin McCullough Jr. to take us to a timeout.
Everything that KJ Adams has done in this game has been strong. The 2 games prior to this, he had some problems finishing plays around the basket. Not so in this one. Right into the chest of Tshiebwe, knocking him back and kissing it off the glass. He's having a great outing.
Well, Blue Bloods tonight. Speaking of Blue Bloods, 2 different shades of blue. Carolina and Duke. Remember, Carolina went into Cameron to Mike Krzyzewski's last home game and to beat him 94-81. And, of course, they met on an even bigger stage in the Final Four last year with the Tar Heels winning again to advance to the national championship game where, of course, they would eventually lose to Kansas. We will have Carolina and Duke for you from Cameron Indoor Stadium 1 week from tonight, 6:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. In the last 111 meetings, Carolina holds a 1-win edge.
And you know what they say about that rivalry, Dan.
Give it to us.
It always delivers.
That is what they say. And they're right. And we're excited.
And speaking of delivering, Kentucky has to continue to look into Sheboy.
Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Guys, a really positive huddle from Bill Self. He said, guys, we're okay, we're okay. They wanted to drop some plays to get more scoring in the post, and then talk to his bigs about being there with their hands straight up. You see the foul called here. He had just literally reminded them about positioning down low, trying to not get fouls called and put Kentucky on the free throw line.
One of the things that Kansas needs to do is get better pressure on the ball. You know, Sheboy has been wide open in the middle of the lane. But if you get pressure on the passer, you can buy a little bit of time, take away vision. But if no pressure's on the ball, you're going to be able to. They're going to be able to pick Kansas apart by getting the ball inside to Sheboy.
Toppin makes them both. Kentucky now 8 for 8 from the line in the second half, and they're back within 2, and they are standing and roaring right now at Rupp.
Trying to post Jalen Wilson to start, but he just comes out to the perimeter to get it.
When KU's needed a bucket, it's often been Wilson tonight, and it is again.
Boy, he just muscled that ball to the basket. He would not be denied on that possession. Big time play by Jalen Wilson.
Wallace with a terrific drive, and again it's a 2-point game.
But he's had a great game. That's 14 points. He's got 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and a block. Jason Wallace just on that little handoff, able to turn the corner on MJ Rice and keeps it all in his right hand to shield it from the defender, and that's just a big time play. He willed that ball into the basket from the lane. Couldn't get it in the post, went back out on the perimeter and made that possession all by himself.
Rice to the bench for Kansas. Grady Dick has returned. Wilson again guarded by Toppin. And the foul on Toppin before the shot.
Well, John Calipari said he dropped that shoulder and knocked Toppin back. So he was a little surprised at that call. Watch the shoulder drop. Just to create that separation.
Off the inbounds, a lob and a slam for Adams.
Boy, who's better at out of bounds underneath than Kansas? So many opportunities they get for lobs.
Reeves and tripped up by Grady Dick, and he'll be going to the free throw line. Kansas is over the limit already.
Just a simple little pin in screen, no communication by Kentucky, and that's about as easy as it gets for a lob. Oftentimes you'll see the second cutter get a lob, but when the first one gets it, you know you've screwed up defensively.
Reeves, an 80% free throw shooter.
Well, you can't say enough about what Kansas has done on the defensive glass in this game. They are undersized, and they've only given up 2 offensive rebounds in this game, both of them to Oscar Tshiebwe. That's a remarkable job by Kansas in this environment.
Yeah, 2 offensive rebounds, no second chance points. Kansas 7 offensive rebounds, 9 second chance points. 2-point game.
I don't know what the over-under was on offensive rebounds for Kentucky. It was a heck of a lot higher than 2.
Ball screen by Adams. Kick to McCullough. And the ball bounces away from Tshiebwe off the head of Wheeler and back to the Jayhawks.
They got KJ Adams on that short roll and he kicked it to McCullough, but that ankle's a problem.
Adams might have gotten away with a walk. Dick is fouled.
And that's something that Grady Dick has done a much better job in the Baylor game, taking advantage of driving opportunities instead of just being a perimeter shooter. But you have to think that ball went right off of, looked like Xavier Wheeler's upper torso or head. But Grady Dick's looking to drive the ball more the last couple games.
Southern Hoops, a history of SEC basketball, a 7-part documentary every Monday through March 13th. A new show with a premiere episode at 9 Eastern on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. A look back to the years 1930 to 1959 from Naismith to Rupp, highlighted by Adolph Rupp's arrival at Kentucky. 4-point lead, Kansas.
So with the screen out top now, Tshiebwe rolls down, and it was a good pickup by Jalen Wilson.
Toppin, yes.
And how much has that shot improved? He's become a much better mid-range marksman in the last year.
What an environment here in Lexington. 5 minutes to go.
Now KJ Adams going to set the screen. He ghosts out of it. Good fake.
Wow. And Grady Dick knocks down a 3 to make it a 5-point game.
That's a freshman. That was a mature big-time play with that shot fake, sidestep, and 3.
Look at deep position here for Tshiebwe. Easy one for him.
That's just something that Kentucky should keep going to. That high-low action is so difficult for Kansas to deal with.
Adams, nice look. Wilson with a corner 3. Another huge bucket for Jalen Wilson.
We are seeing some big-time plays on the road from Kansas. This is a different team than we saw against TCU and certainly on the road against Baylor on Monday.
Trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. Not this time for Toppin.
That's not the shot. That's a shot that Jacob Toppin can hit. He's proven that. Good deflection by Wheeler. Boy, that would have been a layup but for that deflection.
Again, deep position for Tshiebwe. And he's fouled. Number 4 on Adams. Tshiebwe will be at the line when we come back. But how about the plays, Jay, being made by the Jayhawks?
Kentucky putting pressure on Kansas, and it's answered with a terrific 3 off the pass from KJ Adams. And just before, another pass by Adams, a fantastic shot fake by Grady Dick. 1 dribble and 3. Big time play by the freshman.
Hey, it's past time. Living for tomorrow is a fat lie. Gotta do it like it is your last time.
Weekend's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by John Deere. Nothing runs like a deer. Run with us. The reigning national champions, the Kansas Jayhawks, who come into this one having lost 3 in a row. And as we mentioned earlier tonight, they have never lost 4 in a row under Bill Self. This is Bill's 20th season as the head coach in Lawrence. They have never had a 4-game losing streak. You know what the worst or lowest seed Kansas has had under Bill Self? A 4. They've never had lower than a 4 seed. Right now, Joe Lunardi's got them as a 2. 6 great teams in the Big 12. Joe Lunardi has all 6 of them, Jay, the top 6 teams in the Big 12, all as a 4 seed or better right now. A lot of basketball still to be played, but it just speaks to the incredible strength of that conference this season.
Well, it's a league with no bottom. And when the 9th place team, which is Oklahoma, and again, it is a long way to go, they blew the doors off of Alabama, the number 2 team in the country, in Norman today.
Let's go to Holly.
Calipari reminded his team in that last huddle to be assignment sound. He didn't like that Grady Dick and Jalen Wilson have gotten open looks, know that they are shooters. And then he told his guys, look, this is fun. Let's go out there and try to win this game. We love it. This is fun. We should be having a great time out there.
It's sure been fun being here. It's been a heck of a game. 3:20 to go. Kansas by 4. Wilson needs help, finds Harris, who's got 7 assists, 2 turnovers tonight. Shot clock at 2. McCullough got it.
A broken play and a gimpy Kevin McCullough. That's now a double-double for Kevin McCullough in this game. He's got 10 rebounds, now 11 points. What a big shot by McCullough.
Kentucky's gotten close, but they've been unable to take the lead at any point here in the second half, and Jacob Toppin just got called for an offensive foul.
I don't know why Toppin went down in the post. That's Oscar Tshiebwe's area. Tshiebwe had to clear out, and then he was one-on-one in the post, gave one shot to McCullough, but it's the second shot, and McCullough's smart enough to go down. But I think rather than the offensive foul, I think John Calipari's upset that Jacob, that's Oscar's area. Get out of there. There's a big possession here for Kentucky. The Wildcats have to have a stop here.
Ten to shoot.
Kansas spreading the floor, playing 5 out.
Harris for 3. Tshiebwe the rebound.
If John Calipari could pick any Jayhawk to take that shot, it would have been Harris.
Toppin on the drive this time. Reverses it up and in. Boy, they got to stop, and then they got a quick score, and they're back within 5 as the clock ticks under 2 minutes.
That was absolutely necessary for Kentucky to get that stop and score.
Wilson. Another one. How many big shots has Jalen Wilson hit tonight?
No hesitation, Dan. It's just dagger after dagger. First it was Grady Dick, then Jalen Wilson, then that broken play 3 by Kevin McCullough, and now the official's going to look to see if that was a 3 or a 2 from Jalen Wilson. But was it a 3 or a 2? It's still a huge bucket. Looked like his right foot might have been on the line, but it's still a gigantic shot.
Yeah, clearly a 2, and that's the way it was scored initially. So it is a 7-point lead, 75-68. Wilson, who averages just over 21, has 22 tonight and 8 rebounds. He's basically on his season averages in both scoring and rebounding here tonight.
What, he's gone 38, 30, 23, and now what is it, 22?
22, yeah.
That's consistency at a high level.
And just a minute 49 to go in what is now a 7-point game.
I was at Kansas's practice on Monday before the Baylor game, and Bill Self, I said, hey, you know, how are things going? And he said, geez, if we could just get Jalen Wilson doing something. Wilson was sitting right within earshot. He said, the guy hasn't done anything.
Playing as well as anybody in the country right now. No touch for Tshiebwe. Wallace over Wilson.
A great defense by Wilson and a terrific rebound by McCullough.
A block is the call. No basket. It's before the shot, but the call goes against Reeves and Kentucky.
Just a fantastic defensive job by Jalen Wilson. And the terrific outlet pass by McCullough after that rebound. What does he have, 12 rebounds on the game? Kansas doesn't have to be in a hurry here. Right. You don't want to take your foot off the gas.
McCullough playing on that bad ankle. Shot clock's at 7. Adams with a full head of steam misses the lay-in.
Looked like he got hit going up, but just wasn't able to finish it.
And a block by McCullough. He cannot keep it in bounds, so it'll be Kentucky ball.
Another great defensive play, and McCullough, even gimpy, has shown his value in this game. He has rebounded, he's defended at a high level, helped, recovered.
A finalist for the Naismith Defensive Player of the Year award last year, and he will be again this year.
And he's made some big buckets, none bigger than that 3 he hit at the end of a shot clock on that broken play. Like, how many games have we seen, Dan, when one team comes in, you know, struggling and angry and desperate,
and then they play a terrific game, sometimes in hostile territory, and pull out a win, which is what Kansas is on the verge of right now.
Similar vibe to when Kentucky went to Tennessee.
And they're not fouling. And John Calipari's yelling foul. And about 11 or 12 seconds came off the clock on that possession before they gave the foul.
When Kentucky looks at this film, they are going to see so many missed opportunities to get the ball inside to Tshiebwe and take advantage of matchups that they had that were in Kentucky's favor. And you give Kansas credit for keeping the ball out of there. But from Kentucky's perspective, I don't think they let Tshiebwe touch it enough in the second half.
And now the 7th foul will put Grady Dick on the line for Kansas.
An excellent free throw shooter.
Yep, 83% on the season. Assuming Kansas wins this game, they won't have all that long to savor it because they play Kansas State in the rematch Tuesday in Lawrence. You'll be there. John Shambi will be with you on ESPN Plus as Kansas will be looking to exact a measure of revenge. Hey, the Australian Open's men's championship. Stay up late or get up early, depending on your point of view and where you are. Djokovic and Tsitsipas. Djokovic looking to tie Rafael Nadal's record on the men's side with 22 slam titles. Should be great.
You had 3 of the greatest tennis players of all time playing at exactly the same time.
Knocked away by Dick. Frederick off balance. The miss. McCullers got it. And that is going to be that. The Kansas Jayhawks come into Rupp Arena, snap Kentucky's 4-game winning streak, and to make sure they don't have a 4-game losing streak in a really gutty, gritty road effort tonight by the Jayhawks.
That was a character win by Kansas. Lost 3 in a row, and the Jayhawks showed tremendous resilience. Kevin McCullar playing on a gimpy ankle, and they get a win in Rupp Arena. That was a big-time win by Kansas.
They were led by Jalen Wilson, had 22 and 8. Kevin McCullar Jr., a double-double with 11 points, 12 rebounds, and a bad ankle for much of the night. Grady Dick 13, KJ Adams 17 tonight. And Kansas with a big win over Kentucky, 77-68. By the way, the Big 12 7-3 in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. Holly Rose with Bill Self.
Well, Coach, when your team needed it the most, their backs against the wall, they come up with a huge defensive game tonight. How did they tough this out?
Well, the guys did execute, and we had a couple of guys play great. And our bench was better tonight. Our bench bigs were good, and KJ had a great game, and of course Jay Will was terrific. It was a great team win, and we've been laboring the last couple of weeks, so we needed this.
Kevin McCullar comes in playing on a gimpy ankle and just gives you his heart. What did you see from him?
I thought he was great. He hadn't made a lot of shots in the last couple of weeks. None of us had. And then he makes the biggest shot of the game probably to give us some cushion there. But he's a tremendous team defensive player. He was terrific.
You mentioned Jalen Wilson, but he just comes up so special time and time again. How's he taking over this team?
Well, he's been doing it all year. The thing about Jay is whenever we play our worst offense is when he always plays the best. And he certainly did that again tonight.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Holly.
All right, I got 2 other guys for you before we let you go. Kevin McCullar, Jalen Wilson. Jalen, in the corner, time and time again, you're coming up with a monster shot. What were you seeing when you were so open like that?
Well, KJ is so good in that little short roll action that we got. And, when he's open like that, I'm just trying to spot up, get open for the team, and, be confident not to shot down.
I don't know if I've seen a guttier performance tonight. You can barely walk, and you're out there getting blocks, steals. How did you find the strength?
Just believing in myself and believing in my teammates. We needed this one. It was a must-win for us, and we got it done.
Coaches never lost 4 in a row at Kansas. Why were you the team that made sure that didn't happen tonight?
We just competed. We trusted each other, went out there, we prepped all week and worked hard, and we believe in each other.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Holly, thank you. They definitely competed, and yes, they avoided a 4-game losing streak. Coming in here having lost 3 in a row, they were down early, took the lead, maintained the lead, despite a little foul trouble, despite some injuries. I think Bill Self was fired up. Kentucky's 4-game winning streak is over as Kansas defeats the Wildcats 77-68 here at Rupp Arena, and the Big 12 wins the SEC Big 12 Challenge 7-3. For Jay and Holly, I'm Dan Schulman. Thanks for watching. X Games Aspen is next.